Hello guys, welcome back to my MS-DOS Virtual Machine series. Now, MS-DOS is what we call a text-based operating system. That is to say, it's completely reliant on the use of text as graphics for its main interface. So, simple commands such as edit are all drawn using characters of of um, text, obviously. So, but of course, there were graphics-based applications such as Doom, which of course had graphics, custom font, etc., etc. But what if, let's say, you wanted to run a user interface that had graphics instead of, well, text? Well, to do that, we're going to install Windows. Yes, Windows, the operating system that most people use these days, but not Windows 10 or Windows 7, but instead we're going to be installing Windows 3.1. I would have the install disk inserted, as you can see here, so we'll go ahead and run setup. So to install Windows 3.1, the procedure is exactly the same as any other software that you would install on your system. So this setup is divided into two sections, the first section being the copying of the certain Windows files to the main C drive, and then the second portion is actually a graphical portion where you can install Windows from an actual graphical installer. We press enter. We'll go with, let's see, we'll go with advanced. Let's do Win 3.1 because this is Windows 3.1, and press enter. Yes, that looks fine. And now we'll insert our second disk. See, the process, as I've already said, is exactly the same as the procedure for installing other pieces of software, because essentially that's what Windows is. It's just another piece of software. Technically, it's not an operating system. 3.1. Windows 3.1, 1 and 2 were not operating systems, but instead, what they are, well, they're what we call graphical user interfaces. What that means is that it still relies completely on DOS to function, but all it does is it gives you a layer upon DOS from which you can control your system via, we can say that's it's like a graphical veil atop MS-DOS. So you're still actually running MS-DOS, you're just not running MS-DOS via text, but instead running Windows 3.1 atop DOS. Let's see, continue. Okay. It was not until Windows 95, which we call the 9X series, that Windows was almost like a new, was almost like an independent operating system, but still, it still had the MS-DOS elements inside it. It was completely DOS compatible. I believe it still used DOS as a kernel of sorts. And that was the same for the 9X series. And the 9X series, of course, includes right. Let's have a look. Basic compiler. I think that's basic compiler. Nah, no, none of these. Okay. So, Windows 9X series includes, of course, 95, released in 1995, and 98, released in 1998, and Windows ME, which is Millennium Edition, which was, well, it's a bit of a meme nowadays because of how much of a flop it was. Released in the year 2000, the same year that they released Windows 2000, which was, of course, an NT operating system. That, of course, standing for New Technology, and that was basically built from the ground up to not rely on DOS as a kernel, and therefore any trace of MS-DOS have been completely removed from the NT operating systems. I believe before Windows 2000 there was NT 3.5 and NT 4, which were operating systems that again were designed to not use MS-DOS at all as a kernel and were designed for more advanced purposes. So now that we have Windows installed, you can see it's edited actually our config.sys file, and also edited our autoexecute.bat file, to not entirely sure what it does. What it did? Oh yeah, it added Windows Win31 as a path, and also installed the mouse driver. I'm not entirely sure. Whatever. But we run Windows. Huh. Oh, maybe we need to run autoexecute for me to include it, and then Win. There we go. So now we're inside the Windows 3.1 UI. So of course this is completely graphical. We've got many files on this. Many programs that are included with Windows 3.1. We've got some games such as the classic Minesweeper and Solitaire, of course, obviously, and you've even got the iconic paint program, which should be around here somewhere. Let's have a look. Here it is, Paintbrush, which is still, of course, included with Windows, but I heard that they're going to discontinue that. So this is like, I'm not sure if this was the first version of Paint. I actually think this isn't. I think this is actually probably. I think the first version of Paint was in Windows 1. We've got clock, calculator. Yeah, so like clock. Yep. All the standard stuff that you'd need for your Windows environment. Of course, you actually had to have your clock open because, unlike in Windows 95 and onwards, where we had little clock at the bottom of the task bar, there's no taskbar, so of course you can't actually have a clock, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, you can't have a clock that's readily accessible. I suppose that's some way of doing it, but I suppose that works, sort of. We've also got, I think, fonts, a calculator app, of course. And these are all, a lot of these are just programs that still exist nowadays in the modern Windows, such as Notepad, of course, etc. So Notepad works. Object packager, etc. An interesting thing about this is that you can run your MS-DOS programs directly from Windows, which is part of the point of Windows 3.1, is to be able to still run your Microsoft DOS applications underneath Windows. I mean, on top of Windows. So such as, for example, you can run QBasic. I think you can press Alt and Enter. And that will turn it into a little window, which is the same. I suppose it's the equivalent of the command prompt from Windows 2000 onwards and the DOS prompt in Windows 9X. So there you go. We've got QBasic. Let me switch to into immediate window because I don't want to make a new program as such. Let's have a look. It doesn't want to print hello apparently. I'm not sure why that is, but I think you can resize it again. Yeah, there you go. Okay, you can resize it again by pressing Alt Enter, which of course works for the command prompt in the newer versions of Windows. So, I believe you can also add programs to your applications. I don't really remember how to do that. I think you have to go to File, New, Program Item, Description, Doom, for example. C :Doom/Doom.exe. Let's try that. I'm not sure that will work. It didn't, apparently. Well, that's I'm not entirely sure how you do that, but that's it's something that I believe that you can actually add Doom to Windows 3.1. I'm just not entirely sure how to do that. So yeah, that's Windows 3.1. It's not an entire overview of Windows 3.1. There's so much other things that you can do. I believe you can also do some more customization. You can have like a startup folder, etc. But let's just have a look at customization. I think there's a way to customize it. Maybe in control panel. Aha, so color. Yeah, there you go. So you've got different themes. I mean color schemes. Arizona. Let's look at that. There we go. So that's Arizona apparently. But yeah, I believe it only uses 16 colors without the proper graphics drivers installed. As you can see in the background, it's trying to create a light blue effect by combining blue with like dark blue and light blue dots with little together to create like a sort of like dithering dots effect, which of course is a substitute for the solid color because that color doesn't exist. Designer, yeah. So there you go. If you got different color schemes, which is of course very nice, and yeah, I believe that's all. Oh yeah, that you can change your keyboard and stuff like that. So let's see if we can change your currency format to the let's have a symbol. We can change that to pounds. Never mind, I can't because I don't have the keyboard installed. So let's just cancel that. Yeah, so that's that. And of course, to get back to Microsoft DOS, all you just have to do, you can run the DOS prompt. You can do that, or you can just close Windows by going to File and exit Windows. One last thing I want to show you is that you can actually cause a blue screen, which, well, it's not really a blue screen. Well, it is a blue screen, but it's not a blue screen of death. By inputting Control Alt Delete. There you go. This is not entirely an error screen. This is actually just a warning screen. But you can see the format is entirely the same to the Windows 9X through 2000 blue screens of death, which would create a similar format with like Windows here and Windows has encountered an error, etc. But this is just the warning to tell you that basically it tells you to save any work and stuff like that before you start your computer, because usually Control Delete is the key combination to restart your computer. So if you press any key to continue, just gets you back to Windows. Yeah, that's it. Oh, you can browse your files in the file manager. Obviously, that's probably the most important thing. Well, I wonder if you can run Doom from here. Huh. I wonder why you can't run Doom. Oh, that's so weird. But fair enough. Not a problem. Alright, so you can just leave through exit Windows, and now you're back to your DOS prompt. So that's how you install Windows 3.1. It's not complicated since I've already gone through how to install Windows. I mean, not install Windows, install applications. And installing Windows is exactly the same as installing any old application. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.